Hey everybody, today's guest is proof that clarity and courage can coexist with the hands and a full heart. Terry Lynn is a entrepreneur, single mom of five, and systems-loving problem solver who helps women navigate business and life with less overwhelm and more intention. Through her experience in launches and operations, she discovered that sustainable success isn't about doing more. It's about building the right support, simplifying what truly matters, and leading with heart. Terry brings a refreshing reminder that structure and soul can work beautifully together. So, hello, Terry.
Hi, it's so great to meet you and have this time.
Thank you. I shared a little bit in the introduction, but share with us a little bit more detailed, like who you are today and what is life like for you now.
So, like you said, I have five kids. They range from age from 23 to 13. Two of my kids are biological. Three of my kids are adopted, but they're all my kids. But that's definitely a part of my story. I became a single mom 7 years ago, so that's been a journey. And my day job is running operations and helping female entrepreneurs with systems. And I love helping women. I love watching businesses grow. And I really like seeing women go through different transitions in life and figuring out how to come out on the other side.
That's really fascinating. And, it's interesting how I don't know if it's natural for us to just keep adding. Or it's like, even one of these years, like this year, I'm going to be like, simplify, simplify, simplify. And then I find myself going into the trap of add, 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 add. I don't know why. I'm like, wait a minute, I thought I was simplifying this year.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
sure
I
that's
mean,
normal.
it is. And I think entrepreneurs tend to be super creative beings. I think all beings are creative, but we're creative in different ways. But
Yeah.
entrepreneurs have a special flavor of creativity. And I think that's where what you're talking about, we all have to go through that. So it's always like having somebody that we know and trust to like rein it in. Like, I thought we were working on project A. Why are we on project D right now?
Yeah.
And that can live for another space and time. But I do feel like entrepreneurs tend to just be super creative and driven in ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. So, share with us of the season where things felt the hardest because you've obviously mastered how to help people with systems now, but that usually comes through learning on your own.
Yeah. So in my past life, so I feel like my life is like a lot of people's lives, it's made of chapters and now it's made of books, really.
Mhm.
In my previous life, I was an accountant. And then I started having a bunch of kids. A couple of my kids have special needs. And so I became a stay at home mom. And I also taught ballet on the side. So I have many different parts to me. Um, and that was my life. And I loved it. I was very busy. There was a lot of medical stuff going on, and just balancing five kids turns out to be a full time job. And so after a 20-year marriage, my now ex husband decided that he wanted a different path in life. And that is really where the biggest transition in my life came. And I feel like that, like, I knew Jesus, I trusted him, but then that came to the point of like hanging on, I feel like, for dear life and trying to move forward. And I think what happened is I've had to figure out a lot of parts of Terry that were lost in the
Mhm.
season before, which I think is normal. I think a lot of moms go through that. um, but I was really faced with like, who are you? What are you going to do? How do you do this? How do you support a family? And what does this really look like? And I feel like I have found parts of me that were missing. And they probably would have come later on as kids started leaving. Um, but I was basically like, here we go, launch yourself into this. And that's how that all started. And then I started taking accounting jobs, and people started trusting me, and they're like, hey, can you do this? In the back of my mind, I was like, I have absolutely no idea what they're talking about, but I know this about me. I can learn and I will
Yeah.
learn it. And that's how this second chapter has been created.
Hmm. And so I know that how long has it been since you have been separated and divorced?
7 years.
Okay. So, so the little one was 6, and so then obviously your older was, more upper teens. Did was I don't know, which ones were special needs or not or whatever. That doesn't really matter. But was it easier to have some kids like help, or were they all going through their own transition? Like, we all know that sometimes those type of dynamics create chaos in more than one dimension.
Yeah, I feel like, 5 kids, 5 personalities, 5 different things going on. I think grief is an interesting part of divorce that I do feel like sometimes the world doesn't necessarily see it the same way as an actual death.
Oh
And
yeah.
yet it is the death of a relationship, and really you're severed in like memories you hold together and things like that. You basically become logistical partners in figuring out how to do life for the most part.
Right.
So I feel like there was some, especially my oldest, he was 16. He was the oldest, and I probably turned to him, I would say, in a not healthy way in some ways, of like, oh my gosh, you're the oldest. Like, here we go. We got to figure this out. And I think him and I have had to do a lot of unwinding with that as I have become more healthy. And then he's been like, he too has become more healthy. So we really had to figure out some of those hard dynamics. And then I was always grateful that I had them all there. And it was very hard to share them. I think that's the other part is I learned the lesson of sharing in a hard way.
Hmm.
And I think learning to share them then made me like try to figure out who I was.
Yeah.
But I think there's resiliency in my children because of what happened. And I think learning how to co parent peacefully is one of my highest values. That
Hmm.
matters. It matters that him and I can show up in a mutual space with them and be present. And
Nice.
I think that it takes some work. And I really feel like it takes leaning into God over and over and saying, can you help me today? Because,
Yeah.
like, I don't know if I'm going to make it through the day.
Yeah, I totally get it. And I have a very similar story. And people will say, like, how is it that you co-parent so nicely? How can he come over for dinners? Or how can you do holidays together? Or how can you go out and celebrate birthdays? Like, how do you do that? And I even had one of my dear friends at the very beginning of our separation. She goes, I want what you have. I go, girl, no, this is like the first day. You're going to have to give it some time. I go, but you can have this, but it requires cooperation of both sides. And it requires love and forgiveness in a way that stretches you beyond your imagination in comparison to marriage. It's a different.
It is. And it's still a relationship
Yeah.
in a different way.
Hmm.
Um, I think it just, yeah, I agree. Like, and it's a growing process. It's going to look different now in 5 years from now than it does now.
Hmm.
But it's also, I think, it's really, for me, it was about letting go of what my vision of life looked like.
Hmm.
I was holding on pretty tight to that. Like, this is forever, until we're no longer here, and our grandkids will come to us together. And that wasn't the journey. So it was like reframing my mind, like, this isn't what it is, but now you're going to be in a new season. And how do you embrace that? And then the trials that come with that for a new season.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's beautiful that you guys have been, you're figuring it out. I mean, I know you're 7 years in, but this is still a thing that goes on for a lifetime. Just like you said, like this particular chapter is you and him navigating this while the kids are young. Then it's going to be you and him navigating this as they're older. And what's interesting is that my ex and my kids are 11 and almost 14, and we're
okay.
hitting this stage of like the girl was easy is I find her easy, and then my son, I'm like, this is a whole new level of drama I've not experienced with the girl, but with the boy. And like his give a damn is so busted. Like he doesn't care about school. He doesn't want to do anything. He's smart as a whip, but he doesn't care. And so like I manage everything except when I try to get them to do schoolwork, everything blows up. And so he and even some of the fighting in like mental dynamics and stuff. So the dad comes in and I'm like, he's so calm with them. And I'm like, I have an idea. You do this because I'm not able to for whatever reason because they don't listen and I go into coaching mode and they're not obedient.
Right. Yeah. I
Like
mean,
so we're figuring out our roles as they
mhm.
get older, and he's so gentle in his parenting that I am not. I am very rah, 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 rah. And so, but I can be, but I spend the most time with them. So now we're finding out our teenage superpowers with being parents of teenagers, and I'm like, I can do this. Like, and I've thanked him, and that's the thing I think we forget is that it's okay to thank your ex for being really good at something you're not.
I think that's really important. I think that is so. Our family word has been kindness. My kids joke about that, because it's been played over and over. Like, did we say that in kindness? Did we do that in kindness? Are we?
Mhm.
But that does extend to him too. And I
Mhm.
think me being a better person and saying, thanks for taking care of that. Thank you for doing that. Even though sometimes you might run in the back of your head, like, of course you would have to take care of that. I mean, isn't that parenting? But being kind in that way of like, I see you. I think that's what that comes down to. I see you. And that's really hard with a person who has created so much pain,
Mhm.
but yet he's a human. He was created by God. He deserves that
Mhm.
also.
Absolutely.
And I think, yeah, I mean, it takes a while to get there, right? Like the
Uh-huh.
beginning, yeah, no. But, you know, but this many years in, like, okay, that is part, I want that to be part of my story.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah,
think
and
it's
I
healthy for my kids.
oh, it's totally healthy. And my big response, people are just like, I don't understand why you're being so nice. And I'm like, look here. I don't like to me, salvation is more important than everything else, right? And I can't make him choose Jesus in a way that I choose Jesus, but I know he's a Christian, but I don't want to act in a way that's dishonoring to my being like Christ, which would then, if I'm not being like Christ, that could cause him to fall away and not choose Jesus. I'm not willing to cause someone so much pain that it risks his salvation. Now, I
Yeah.
guess that's not on me, but my choices of how I behave and treat somebody is on me.
Yeah.
And
I
so,
agree.
yeah.
And I mean, that is the kid's dad.
Yeah.
And they of course will always love him and want a relationship with him. That
Mhm.
is the way it is supposed to be in my mind. And so for me to cause havoc in the back end of that, it just doesn't seem like a valuable way to go.
Absolutely.
And I just don't feel like that's what God asked us to do.
Right. Now, do you share this testimony, like, or how much have you shared this testimony of your life and what God's doing in and through you and your relationship with your ex and how you're navigating this with the world? Have you shared that with other people and has that changed other people's lives?
So I think I'm just now at the beginning of like some of that. I mean, my dream is really to eventually write a book,
Hmm.
and I would like to create a community of women where I am spending time with women through transition, because I think there's so many parts of women's life that are transition, and divorce is a big part of that. It can be the kids growing up, leaving home. So that is like my future dreams, but I think right now my story is being shared on a personal one-to-one basis,
Yeah,
and that's kind of where it lays. But I know in the back of my mind that God has put more on my heart for this, but it has to be the right timing.
sure.
And his
Absolutely.
timing is right, and when it happens it will be exactly as he wants it to be.
Hmm. It's
So
so true.
yeah.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
even right now, like I share with people, like I help people write and self-publish books, but then also it's like God's like, I told you to help people get the message out. And I'm like, oh. So then my business mentor's like, hey, help people with podcasts. And I'm like, well, that's a way to get messages out and it not be books because sometimes it's not the right time. Because books, it's not like it's to me, I don't find it hard because I help people every day, right? But when someone's in there, they're like, oh, but like it's hard. And I'm like, but it won't be when God's like, hey, Terry, it's time. Let's do that. In the
Hmm.
meantime, he places people in your life and say, hey, minister to her, minister
Hmm.
to her, minister to this audience, minister to that audience. And so is that like, I mean, obviously that's an honor to be given the privilege to share what God's doing in your life.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that even happens like in business. I work with a ton
Oh
of
yeah.
women. I mean, mostly coaches and creatives is my sweet spot, but they are going through things, and there have been divorces in those stories that I have then been a sounding board for, and hopefully a point of light for them. And I think like that's how God's starting this story. He's doing it through what I need to do every day anyway, but he's
Mm-hmm.
putting these women in front of me and being like, this is how your story starts. This is how you start serving women this way.
Mm. Oh,
So,
that's so good. Yeah, because it's like I think so often people think it's either ministry or either the workforce.
hmm.
They can be both at the same time.
Hmm.
And
Oh, mhm. Yeah. I mean, I am dating now, and we have had this discussion. Like, my heart really feels like there is places for ministry, but that's what he has told me over and over is like, but actually, you're doing that in your work right
hmm
now.
hmm
And that's the space for it right now.
hmm
So it's trusting his timing because in my mind, I can see like there's a lot of story. I mean, all the way from adoption stories to like all of this. How does this all play together? Because that's another layer of loss for adoptive kids. They've
hmm
had an original loss. This is the next set of loss.
hmm
You know what I mean? And so there's so many layers. But yeah, I totally agree. And I think it. Don't you think like every job people are doing, there is a ministry part of it?
I
If
do.
you're
I mean,
working with humans.
I know. Well, it's like it's funny because my parents own a farm over in Illinois, right across the river here from St. Louis, and churches will say, "Oh, you need to get involved in church. You need to do this. You need to have your small group." My mom goes like, "But like I minister to everybody who comes in and buys product from the farm store. I do not want to add
Yeah,
one more thing to my life."
exactly.
you know
Exactly.
and so when we think about that, I mean, anyone who's, I mean, if you have children, we are called to raise them up in the Lord and love them all the way forever and ever till we die, right? That's the order we want
Yeah.
it to be. We don't want it the other way. And so it's like, so that's a ministry. And then you've got your what you do for your vocation, your calling. That's a ministry. You're married or you're dating, that's a ministry. And it's like, or you're single, you can be, like there's a woman that I'm working with. She wants to write and talk about one of her books is going to be about being secure in your singleness. Because so often we as women and men too,
Hmm.
like you see, I mean, why is it that we see men jump from relationship, 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 relationship? Because they don't feel secure in being alone.
Hmm.
The
Hmm.
same for us. Why do you think we want to be
Yeah.
with people all the time?
Yeah. Yeah. Totally true.
So
Yeah.
it's like when we realize there doesn't have to be a separation of anything. He says, think of me morning and night, always. Well, if we separate it, then we're not, right?
Right. Totally. Yeah. I mean, yes, I totally. Yeah. And I think there's a place for everybody in this world, no matter what your quote unquote status is in life.
Mhm.
Right. And I think leaning into that and like us working with other business owners and stuff like that, that is also our place to lean into their stories,
Mhm.
where they come from, and making. I just feel like everybody in this world wants to be seen and heard.
Right. And loved, regardless of where they're at.
Yes,
And
yes.
it's so funny, we could pretend we could just open up the big huge rip of the politics going on, right? And it's like we're all going after the same thing and fighting over the same thing when all we really want is love and to be loved, to feel love and to receive love. to feel and give love. So it's like if you remove all the noise and you focus
Yeah.
on what the
Hmm.
Lord calls us to be, which is love, nothing else matters.
Yeah. I think that all the time because the world is so loud. And then I just think about who's right in front of me. That's whose lives I'm changing. And like, if you think about your kids, like loving them, seeing them, hearing them, they are going to turn around and do that to their kids.
Right.
And then their kids are going to do it to their kids. And that's how I just so believe that's how the world gets
Yeah.
to be a better place. And it's not like reaching out to all these things around us. First of all, my mind can literally not do all that. And
No.
second, like it's too much. It hurts my head and it really hurts my heart. And so I'm like, so let's just concentrate on who's in front of us and who
Mhm.
God keeps bringing in front of us
Yeah.
because he keeps putting people in, right? Like, oh, okay, where'd you come from? Okay. So, and even if people are just for a season, they're for a season for a reason.
Right. And it's true. And because when we can recognize people are in and out of our lives for a season, we can teach our children the same thing happens. Right. And it's not quite, I feel like I don't know. Like I've been friends with my friends since I've been three. So I've had some friends for like 47 years, some for 45 years, some for 10 years. And then I've got these new friends that I'm nurturing. Like,
Mhm.
you and I are now friends. We're on 30 minutes long of being friends, right?
Right, right, right,
But
right.
it builds. And sometimes it's like, for whatever reason, God connects people for a reason. It's never for not a reason, whether it's to get your message out or it's to be like, oh, wait, a woman over here needs a Christian woman to help her with systems and processes. I'm going to connect her with Teri,
Hmm.
right? Or I know a woman who's struggling with the divorce and has adopted kids and doesn't know how to navigate that. Ooh, that person would be Teri. Even though Teri's
Hmm.
like, wait a minute, I'm not doing that yet. Lord said send them to you.
Oh, but you are. Yeah,
You know what I mean? And so it's very interesting how, and that's how the world can become very small very quick.
yeah, totally. Yeah.
And yeah, and I
Yeah.
love how you had said how you spend time with your kids. So it's like this morning, I've decided I'm no longer taking my kid to the bus stop in the mornings. Too stressful trying to get on that bus. I'm like, I need to think about me. And so I told him, hey, how about I take you to school? We'll watch the Beast Games episode for this week. He goes, okay. So we sat on the couch and watched the Beast Games episode. And I'm trying. It takes a lot for me to slow down enough to do that. But I
Mhm.
don't want my children to pick up on the fact of always being a doer.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a doer too. Like, high, I'm a 3 on the Enneagram. Like, I am an achiever. Like, here we go. And I do feel like with kids, I have had to stop and be like, okay, they're still going to see me that way, but hopefully they see me as like, I took the time to do what I needed with them.
Hmm.
And, like now that so many of them are gone, like it's like that connection time. Like, hey, like a lot of times I'll just text them when I'm driving somewhere, like all as a group or individually, like, hey, I'm thinking about you. I love you and I'm proud of you.
Oh, that's
Like,
awesome.
and I think like grown kids, you even have to work at another level because they're
Hmm.
not there all the time. And yeah, I mean, I get it because I can be like that too. I mean, the day, like I love a day where I'm like this, and sometimes kids just need you to be like, what? Like
Yeah.
just do this. And
Yeah.
car rides to school are like magical places, especially for teenagers.
Yeah, I'm figuring that out. Or like my daughter, she loves to go to Costco with me or whatever.
Hmm.
And it's so funny because people were just like, why do you play video games with your kids? I go, because they like to play video games and I need to, if you want to get to know your kids, do what they love to do.
Hmm. Yeah.
And it's like, so my son and I, we were playing phone games for a little bit. We're not currently playing a phone game, but it's like, everything has a season, like you had said. And it even goes with what is it that they love to do to spend time with you. Um, and it's helping build the story of what they're going to remember when they move out.
Yeah, and I mean that is such a powerful message right there. So the thing is, like raising a bunch of kids, there was times, well, first of all, like when you hit 3 o'clock in the afternoon to like 8:30, I mean, it was mass chaos. All these
Mm.
kids, our rule was always like you guys could do two activities. So a sport, and then you could do like they did scouts and stuff like that.
Ooh,
So
that's busy.
that was busy, but we, or one took piano lessons instead of scouts, all these kind of things. So it was really busy. But I feel like that time we were connecting into what they liked. And
Hmm.
as the seasons move on, you really have to like two of my sons were into wrestling. I don't know anything. I still don't know anything of wrestling, and I have sat at more wrestling matches than you can. But like all of a sudden they're on the wrestling match, and I'm the mom. They're yelling on the side of the match. Like I don't even know. I just see this child doing this thing, and so
Like,
I
don't
feel
die, don't
like
die, don't die, don't die. Don't break
pretty
anything.
much that is. I mean, there's a lot with that. That's a true statement for
Yeah,
sure.
my
Like,
son wants to start tackle football this summer. And I'm like, okay, I
yeah.
hope they make it really safe now. We're going to be okay. Cover him
Oh,
with
I
the blood
fought.
of Jesus and the
Mm-hmm.
legion of angels. Amen.
I fought that forever. And then my oldest was like a sophomore in high school, and he's like, just so you know, I signed up for football. I'm going to do it now. And then I mean, I love football on TV with somebody else's sons. But then I was like, and then it was like really fun to watch him. Like you just have to kind of let go of like some of
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just so busy, and then the seasons are done. But what I was saying is now my kids are grown, some of them, and I missed like a game, or I missed this because I was with somebody else for sure. Like there wasn't enough of me to go around and me and my ex-husband to go around. So there
Mhm.
was times when probably kids participated and there was not a parent there.
Yeah.
Nobody has ever come back to me and been like, wow, on February 11th, back in whatever year, you were not at my football game, like, or
Uh-uh.
whatever, wrestling. Like, nobody does that. They just remember who you are and who you showed up to be.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. Um, well, I'm loving this entire story, but I would love for you to share something to the woman who sees themselves in your life. What word of encouragement would you have for them today?
Oh, I would say that it is about resilience. And what I mean from that is to create a space in your life that is for you. And I don't mean the popular like self-care stuff. I mean something that is life-giving to you that takes 10 minutes of your day, and really look at who you are, not who everybody else expects you to be,
Mm,
because eventually you're going to have to come back to yourself. That's just how life is. And to just keep going and to know that you have everything you need inside. Like God gave you everything you need, and
mm.
He will sustain you if you lean into Him, and He will give you the resilience that you need.
Oh my gosh, that is so good. Well, it has been an absolute joy having you on this show. So I thank you, Terry, for sharing your heart with us today. To our listeners, remember your story isn't over. You're not disqualified by what you've been through. And remember, with Jesus Christ, you are healed, whole, and called. Till next time.
Thank you.